Right, guys, so moving on from our little interview setup with Sam from Sigma, Emmy has appeared in the studio, which is absolutely awesome, and she's come prepared so we can get into this sort of demonstration segment of this video. Okay, guys, so just to talk you through a little bit of what's going on in terms of the technical setup of this. As you can see, nice and simple. One light. I've got one reflector just on the floor there, which I'll show you where we're going to be using. I am using a Tether Tools cable on my EOS R with the mount adapter, and I've opted for a classic 50mm. This is the Sigma 50mm 1.4 art lens. One of my favourite focal lengths in the studio. My camera settings, if we come on over to my Tether and my laptop there, I'm probably quite dark actually in the shot there, but I am shooting. Well, I'm starting off with a base setting of 100 ISO, 6.3 on the aperture, and a shutter speed of 250th of a second. So pretty bog standard sort of lighting setup there. And then the light itself is set to a quarter power at the moment, so a quarter power flat. I am using this new Photix G capsule, as it were, in capsule mode as well. So we've got the sort of shoot through umbrella on the front there. No diffusion inside at the moment, so we're getting the full punch of the light there. As you can see from the modelling lamp on Emmy, as I step out of the way there, we've got a really nice fall off, and that's what this capsule does. So gives you a really nice gradient from light to shadow to ultimately dark. There we go, my modelling light has gone off there, right on cue, absolutely fantastic. Let me just switch that back on. There we go. There we go. Brilliant. So back into it. So I'm going to fire away with my first few frames. I think we've got exposure quite good so far. If I was really prepared, I would be using a light meter today, but I'm not. So here we go. Let's take the first base frame. So Emmy, there we go. As you're sat there, that's a wonderful pose. I think we'll work with that just for a minute. Looking directly down the camera. If you could lift your chin just a little bit for me, that's perfect. Bang, there we go. First one in the bank. I caught you blinking. Sod's law. So there we go. Let's get back to our basics. So what I'm going to do, pal, close your eyes for me, give you 3 countdown, and then you pop them open. Okay, lovely job. So 3, 2, 1, perfect. There we go. It's excellent. And the images as they're coming through, I will post them to on screen so you guys can have a little look at what we're getting. But that's a really good starting point for me. Okay, so those settings that I've dialed in there, really happy with the exposure. So what can we do next to improve that shot? So I'm noticing that there are some shadows just underneath Emmy's chin there, which are quite predominant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my reflector. The beauty of the G capsule is that it spreads light just about every which direction, which means that I no longer have to get Emmy to hold my modifier. And I'm now getting a real lift on the shadows, and hopefully in the video you can sort of see that what the silver reflector is doing to the shadow just underneath Emmy's chin there. Sort of brightens that up. I can sort of see that with the naked eye. And if I take the same frame again, I'm a little bit closer to Emmy right now. Classic portrait. There we go. I didn't do the countdown then, but you had your eyes open, which is awesome. It's all good. It's all good. So again, that's the second frame. In the bank. There we go. We're done. We can pack up and we can all go home. I think we're all done there. So. In terms of what we're going to do next, we're sort of going to swing that a little bit. I really like the way that the light is hitting Emmy, but I'm not too crazy right now about the way that the background is sort of being illuminated. And that's to do with the distance that the model is from the background. So I've got Emmy about 6 foot away from the background there. So there's two things I can do. I can either get Emmy to move closer to the background, which will make it sharper at my chosen aperture, or I could blur it out. So we could use high-speed sync in the studio and I can blur that background out. And that's exactly what I'm gonna try first. So rather than moving the model all the way back, we're gonna try out a little bit of high-speed sync in the studio. So for those of you who don't know what high-speed sync is, it's to do with the shutter curtains, the way that they work with flash synchronization. So most cameras generally will sync with flash up to about 200th or 250th of a second. When we use high-speed sync, you can roll that shutter speed up to an extreme of 8,000th of a second if you want to, and not end up catching the curtain as it comes down on these modern cameras all too much. Saw a movement there, Sam. Yeah, I saw a slip there. Don't worry, it's all good. It's all good. So the way that I'm going to set that up, I'm going to take my base ISO unit. Okay, so 100 is where that's going to stay. Okay, my shutter speed, I'm going to go. So do the aperture first is how I always try and work this out without a light meter. So find your desired aperture. So I was at f5.6, and I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. So 10 rolls of the wheel gets me down to f1.4. It's not actually 10 stops, by the way, guys. So don't jump on me for that. And I'm going to roll my shutter speed up to around about a 2,000th of a second. So my aperture's switched to f1.4. My shutter speed has gone up to 2,000th. So let's have a little go with that. And instantly with my live view preview on the back of my camera, I can see that blur. Now that is actually, that's way too bright. But I actually really like it. I really do like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that same shot again, okay, Emmy? And I'm just rolling the shutter speed up just to eliminate a lot more of the ambient light there. And that's starting to get there. That's starting to get there. There we go. So I've gone up a whole stop from where I absolutely started there. So my base settings now are f1.4, 100 ISO, and 4,000th of a second on the shutter speed. So I'm shooting at 4,000th of a second there, and that is giving me pretty much the same illumination as what I started out with, but that amazing fall off onto the background there, and that's just with a 50mm lens. So in a second, I'm going to pop everything down. I'm going to go and grab I'll probably grab an 85mm next as the next natural progression, and we're gonna work off of those same settings there, but I'm going to use the 85 1.4 now, just to really accentuate the out of focus to the in focus of the subject. So join me in a second. Tidy, there we go guys. So after a quick lens swap, I've now switched over to the 85 f1.4 DG lens by Sigma, full frame 85mm lens. This is officially my favorite lens to use in the studio, out of the studio, in life, just generally. I can't get enough of it. I think it's an absolutely amazing lens, and in this environment really helps to sort of punch home the drama to the type of images that I like to take. So once again, I'm going to take a very similar shot to the one that we just had with the 50mm, but I will show you the key difference. Sam, if you want to come on over a second, dude, and just hover over the screen there. Hopefully you can see the image as it's come out there. I will post it to the screen as well, but that is very, very dramatic. The fall off from the same position is absolutely incredible with this particular lens. So I'm just noticing though, the shadows have been enhanced, as it were. So I'm just gonna pop a reflector just underneath just to lift those. And Emmy, if you could lift your chin for me, straighten your back there for me, my lovely, as well. Thank you very much. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to take a good few steps back here. We're just going to line Emmy up. Center frame. Nothing too fancy at the moment with composition. Just having her sat there, and yeah, that's a really, really striking image. In fact, that's one of hopefully 5 finished images that I can share with you guys. But I'm really, really liking that. So how can we improve on that? Well, I can see there that composition-wise, I've got the top of the light in the shot there, and I've cut her hands off, which for me, that's a big no-no. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a nice little seat over here, and we're going to take that same shot again, and just make sure I get as much of Emmy in the frame as is possible. Oh, there we go. Her pose is absolutely spot on for the type of look that I'm going for. So we don't need to make any adjustments there. Yeah, that's looking exactly how I want it to look. The fall off is cracking. Background is nicely illuminated and blown out, and I can tell from here she's nice and sharp in the frame there. Right, Emmy, let's get you up on your feet, shall we, pal? If you don't mind. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There we go. I'm going to get the chair and the little wooden prop out of the way. Oh. And we'll have you stood now, okay, pal. So I'm going to have to raise this up just a little bit. Just have a little look at your palm. Can you take a step forward for me? Perfect, there we go. Spot on. So we're getting into a little bit of a sort of a paramount lighting setup here now. And so what I'm looking for is this perfect butterfly just underneath Emmy's nose. And Sam, if you come on in a little bit closer for me. So the way that I'm going to achieve that now is just by moving the light. I'm using the modeling lamp, and I'm just getting, there we go. So I've got that little triangular light just underneath the nose there. So I know the paramount is working. So we're almost there. It's going to be quite a contrasty photograph though. So I'm going to take one shot, and I'll just show you the effects of that without a second light or a reflector. And you get that very DC Batman versus Superman sort of poster type image. So let's just grab that shot. Yeah, very, very much so. So we haven't got a catch in the eye, unfortunately. So that's what we're going to work on next. So I'm going to take a couple more shots like that though, just to get the composition right. So I might need to take a couple of steps back there, so I'm not cutting Emmy off at the elbows there. Got quite a nice strong pose there. If you could whip your elbows back towards the, that's it, that's perfect. There we go. Take a couple, and then if I can get you looking right up towards the light for me, perfect. There we go. In fact, that might be the shot so far. That's absolutely belting. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that. And there's a massive catch in the eye there. So that's the sacrifice, is when you go into a lighting scenario like this, Make sure you're prompting your model to lift her chin, and if you can, divert the eyes towards the modifier. We're going to take a few more. And get you to turn to your side for me, yeah? Perfect. It's amazing. Keep that chin lifted for me just a tiny bit. There we are, perfect. And then if you go hands behind your back for me, arms straight though. That's cracking. There we go, that's it. And that concludes that little segment, I reckon. We've got some really nice shots there with that one. Emmy, we're going to get you to change outfits, and I'm going to change the modifier, if that's okay, and we'll try something a bit different. Okay, cool. See you in a second. There we go, guys. Right, so I've just fired a few test shots just to make sure that my exposures, etc., haven't changed all too much. As you can hopefully see, we've now switched over to a much more substantial modifier, and I've brought that actually even closer to Emmy there. We are still in the sort of the paramount lighting orientation there. But this is sort of home for me. Okay, so I usually use this 105 centimeter shallow octobox or rice bowl, however you want to describe that. This is the Raja 105 by Photix. It has 2 stops of diffusion, so whereas my lantern, we were shooting it like a shoot-through umbrella, there was no diffusion on the inside of that. We just had to be rather careful with the hot spot right in the center of it. With this one, I am still feathering the light onto Emmy, so away from the middle of the modifier, but it's giving me a really nice, even spread. But if Emmy took one step back, so if you don't mind, Emmy, just taking a little step back from the modifier, in general, I'll show you that image. We've lost a fair amount of light there. So whilst it is feathering, it's hitting the background and things, it's not quite as effective as the lantern modifier in illuminating that background. Now, I am still using the 85mm 1.4 art, but I am about to switch over to a more extreme telephoto. So we're going to go to the 105mm. The beast, and this lens is an absolute monster, but I absolutely love what it does to both subject and background. So let's take a little look at that next. Into the center for me a second, thank you. Just lift the chin for me a little, thank you. And then if you could turn towards this wall for me as well. All the way? Not all the way, just at that angle. Take a step into the center again for me, and your furthest shoulder from me, if you could bring it just a little bit towards the camera, tiny bit further back. Hold, that's perfect. And looking directly at the camera for me. Perfect. So take that off completely a second. Notice as well, guys, when I'm shooting that I'm not using my viewfinder as much. I'm trying to shoot Emmy at both our eye levels, just to keep the so if I shoot too high or shooting down on the model, as it were, it's going to change the whole perspective of the image. Sometimes you can get away with shooting lower and you get this sort of hero shot. But what I'm ultimately trying to achieve is the most natural view going. I don't want to compress Emmy down or or upwards. Okay guys, so I'm shooting at eye level, and with the introduction of mirrorless and everything in live view, you can really get away with just using the back screen there. I can see that the eye detection autofocus is working. I'm using exposure simulation on. In fact, a really handy thing with Canon is as soon as you put a flash trigger on top there, it back illuminates the screen for you automatically. So even if you've got exposure simulation turned off and your image just looks, it's just all black, as soon as you put a flash trigger on there, it sort of springs into life there. So. And I'm also, just as a word of reference, I'm also shooting first curtain mechanical shutter and not first curtain electronic shutter. Because we're doing the whole high-speed sync thing, sometimes banding can become an issue with the photograph, and it's very predominant sometimes in the outer focus area. So to eliminate any banding or any hint of the flash pulsing, I'm using the mechanical shutter, which Canon very thoughtfully left inside their camera system for us. So there we go. That's awesome. I take a step back, hold that pose for me. Coming back in, there we go. Get your eyes. Bang on, absolutely bang on. Emmy, they look absolutely amazing, pal. You're killing this. Come check this out. Come and check it out.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah?
Lovely. I like the colour contrast between the dreads as well.
Yeah, it's really super cool. Like, I'm just gonna see if I can get you to remember now, right? Just to keep that chin just a little bit higher for me. Okay. I know it feels a little bit unnatural, but it's just I just want to lift that shadow out as much as I possibly can there. Perfect. And then come down towards me there. Perfect. That's cracking. The attitude there is amazing. Like it. And so just to finish this one off, so Sam, you can relax for a second, okay, dude? I'm just going to do a little something in terms of styling with Emmy, and we'll pop back to the fold in a second. So. Okie dokie. There we go. So you're holding it with one hand, and if you could bring the other hand just to wrap it sort of around yourself there. That's it. That's perfect. There we go. And that sort of angle. That's spot on. There, I'm going to step back. Boom. So notice I've gone low there. I'm going to do that again. Emmy, sorry pal, I won't keep you in that pose for too long. And then head exactly where it is, but if you could avert your eyes towards me, lovely. Thank you. There we go. That's the one. You're looking straight down at me there. Perfect. I prefer the eyes looking up, actually, pal. Sorry to be fussy. And relax, pal, and relax. There we go. Yeah, there we go, let's take it, let's grab it. Oh, I'll tell you what, the attitude, pal, it's amazing, like. That's cracking, that is. That's really cool.
That's the best one.
Yeah, too right, yeah, I do, I love that. I love that. Next up, guys, I'm just going to switch this lens out, and we're going to go into the we're going to go for the 135, the famed 135 f1.8, one of the sharpest lenses in existence. Not the sharpest though, is it, Sam? I think your 40mm is your sharpest lens, isn't it? Yeah. So Sigma do a 40mm f1.8. No, 1.4, isn't it? It's a 40mm 1.4. And it is one of the sharpest lenses, certainly in the Sigma lineup, but also maybe ever. But there we go, that's the beast. That is the 135 f1.8. And this I think is going to be our final lens choice for the day. And what this lens is going to allow me to do is, from the same spot that I've been shooting from for most of the day, it's going to allow me to get more of crop in on the head and shoulders of Emmy, and you'll see the poses start to get a little bit more, say a bit neater in a sort of a square frame there. So there we go, and just like that, Emmy straight into a fantastic pose there. There we go. So now we're getting a very, very different type of image from that space there. More, in fact, just head. We got a little bit of information from the hands there as well. The modifier is actually doing a fantastic job at the moment of illuminating the scene. So I don't need to do all too much in terms of adjustment there. There isn't a massive amount of frame for me to tap into there. I'm just making sure that I've got, using my thirds grid, I've got Emmy's head bang smack in the center. Just making sure that the composition is spot on there, and I'm just going to move back just so I can gather a little bit of information of what's going on around the frame there. Right, so the way you've got your arms folded there, your other hand, could you bring that? Yeah, that's it, out. Maybe a bit lower, just a little bit lower. There we go, that's perfect. And a bit lower, so you're almost resting your bracelets up, sort of one on top of the other. That's it, that's perfect, there we go, there we go. And I'll tell you what, if you could, in just a second after this next frame, if you could just lift your other shoulder upwards, and so you're doing a bit of a slight, yes, that's it, there we go, that's it. So the lift is towards the camera, so we're going always towards the camera. I'm going to take a step back, hold that for me just for 2 seconds. And I'm going to take a sort of a hero shot of that as well. Bang, there we go. Absolutely brilliant. There we go. So that pose again for me, Emmy, one more time, but eyes up towards the light, if that's okay, lovely. Thank you. Spot on. There we go. That could be the one. Yeah. Fantastic, fantastic. So I'll put all those up on the screen as we go along. Right then, guys, so there we go. Hopefully you've found that informative. That is an end to the video there, and I've got a whole bunch of image samples to sort of shift through and get sort of all together, as it were. I will be sending those over to Sam and the team at Sigma to sort of shift through and hopefully pick their favourites. But guys, most importantly, don't be afraid to use third-party lenses on your camera equipment, especially when they're as sharp as all of those Sigmas. They've been absolutely awesome, as you saw there. I'm a little bit of a bumbling idiot when it rolls, when it comes to doing this type of thing, but I've managed to get through it, so I've no doubt that any of you will as well. I'm Krish from Command Cameras. This is Emmy. Sam Smith's behind the camera. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.